Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Open Championship edition of Green on the Greens. I'm here in New York. I have no AC in my building. I just had to shut off my desk fan to not interfere with the microphone, and I'm melting already. So, Cody, I might undo an extra button here because
Oh, show a little
I'm
of the
going to be
hamburger
sweating.
meat. Let's go, baby.
I'm already red. You can see the sweat starting to form, and I've had my fan off for approximately 30 seconds. So, yeah, it is the Open Championship. It's the final men's major golf tournament of the year. It's my second favorite major personally behind the Masters. I'm very excited for this week. Rodney in the chat,
Let's go.
love it.
Our hype man. Let's go.
Cody, first things first, we got to talk about the Scottish Open. You once again picked Ludwig to win. He had the lead heading into the final round and blew it. And even last week, if you go back and watch last week's episode, you may remember that I said, Cody, I'm a little afraid that Ludwig is becoming to you what Xander Schauffele has been to me. I'm seeing how I treated and talked about Xander Schauffele the first year I was betting on him every single week. Is I'm seeing those same words be said by you about Ludwig. And did he ever pull off a Xander Schauffele this past weekend? Your comments on Ludwig.
Yeah, it might be Ludwig Schauffele now. Like that might be just what we have to refer to him as because it's getting painful. Like you said, it's the exact same things that you said about Xander Schauffele. He's playing so well that it almost seems like he has to win one, and yet he's just not coming through right now.
Yeah, it's tough. Spoiler alert, you didn't go with him this week. We're going to get into our picks here in a moment, but I was shocked to see you to not go with him this week. We actually had the exact same winner this week, so I let you have him. I actually changed mine up. I kind of liked that we had the same winner, and I changed mine because it forced me to kind of pick another outright winner. And I found another one that I really like. So I'm excited to get into these picks. But first of all, I want to hear your thoughts generally, Cody, on Royal Troon as a golf course. Obviously, the last time we saw this course, 2016, Henrik Stenson and Phil Mickelson played in one of the greatest, one-on-one, head-to-head matchups on a major Sunday in at least my time watching golf in my lifetime. Before that, it was in the 2004, I think was the one before that. I was not watching golf at that point. Before that, it was 97. Your thoughts on Royal Troon, what we should be looking for, key stats, things like that.
Yeah, 100%. First off, I'll say this is probably like top 3 favorite courses for me on the Open Rota. I think it's a really fun test. I think I think the diversity in what the holes offer from 1 to 18 is very interesting. Like they've lengthened the par fives. There's 2 par fives over 600 yards on this course now. And then you have a hole like the postage stamp with a green the size of a thimble that they're firing at. So like you just get a lot of diversity in shots. But one of the big things I'm looking for starting off is driving accuracy and good drives. Like if you're playing out of the stuff, that's going to be tough to play out of this week. Also, when I look back at both Todd Hamilton winning, I think 2007, if I'm not mistaken, and then 2016, the short game displays that these guys put on was unbelievable. So around the green, on putting, like you have to have that dialed in. It's going to be super important. And then, digging in a little bit deeper, the big key ranges I looked for on approach, as opposed to not necessarily just overall approach play, is 150 to 200 yards. When you're looking at those, that's where a lot of these approaches are going to be coming from. So how players perform in those capacities is what I'm looking at.
Yeah, and generally my feeling about Open Championships as a whole, which kind of differentiates itself from other majors, that you don't need bombers. I mean, we've seen short winners win Opens with a pretty, regularity. Brian Hartman last year obviously won as a short hitter. Colin Morikawa is one in the past as a short hitter. Henrik Stenson, when he won here in 2016, he famously teed off with a 3-wood on almost every single hole. So it's not like he was bombing these drives and doing bomb and gouging this course whatsoever. So the short kings off the tee are in play this week. Caden saying Ian Mack gives back. LFG, let's get another winner. Let's go. This is, I mentioned Brian Hartman, the 1-year anniversary of the greatest bet I have ever hit in my life and will ever hit in my life when I bet on Brian Hartman last year at 120 to 1. I do have another 120 to 1 winner locked in for this week, which I'll get into a little bit later. It's probably not surprising for anyone who's listened to a lot of my picks this season. But we'll see if we can recreate last year's magic. I don't think I ever will, but I'm going to try.
Hey, the trying is all that really matters. It's the effort, the heart behind it.
I mean, in order to cash 120 to 1 winner, you need someone at 120 to 1 odds to win in the first place, and then you have to pick the right guy at north of 100 to 1 odds to win. So it's not easy. Need a lot of things to go your way. And then last year, not only did Brian Harman win for me at 120 to 1, he ran away with it. He won by 6 strokes, which will never
didn't even have to sweat it.
Right. And it's pretty rare to have a golf winner that you don't sweat whatsoever. It's extremely rare for it to be north of 100 to 1 odds. So I'll never have a golf win as good as this tournament last year, but I'm going to try. I'm going to do my best. Cody, ready to get into picks?
Let's do it, man. I'm excited.
All right, let's get into our top 20 picks. As always, we'll go top 20, top 10, top 5 winner, and then we'll give out a player of at least 100 to 1 odds or longer that we like this week. So Cody, let's start top 20.
Yeah, so I'm starting a little bit down the board. Alexander Bjork, another Swede, just trying to get the Henrik Stenson magic going again. Honestly, this is a play that when I look at what I said about the short games of Todd Hamilton and of Stenson and Phil back in 2016, when I look at those guys and what they do with their short game, I think it checks a lot of the boxes of what Alexander Bjork does really well. Last 20 rounds, he's losing off the tee and barely gaining on approach, but he's 6th in scrambling. He's 7th on approaches from 175 to 200 yards, which he's a short hitter, so that's where those approaches from that range are going to be coming from. 11th in strokes gained putting on slow greens. And then over the last 36 rounds, he's 6th in strokes gained putting overall. He also finished T41 at the Open last year, which was only his second start at the Open Championship. So a little bit of major pedigree there. He was also T39 at Valhalla, at Valhalla earlier this year, a course that shouldn't fit him. So I think he may raise his level of play a little bit, but I'm really looking at that short game. And I think at 8 to 1 for a top 20, I think he's one of those guys that has the game that could really sneak up at an Open Championship that we see every year at the Open.
I love a good long shot for top 20. We're starting off with a Swede. I'm not going to argue because I'm going to go with another Swede. Swede won the last one at Royal Troon. Let's go Swede heavy on this show. Alex Noren, I mentioned earlier how I had a golfer at 120 to 1 odds to win this week. That golfer is Alex Noren. Now, if you want to be a sane person, unlike me, and bet him a little bit more conservatively, you can do it at top 20 plus 250. Like I said, anyone who's been listening to my picks all golf season, this does not come as a surprise to you. I've bet on Alex Noren a ton this season. He's been my guy this season. He hasn't won an event yet, but I still think I don't think I was wrong. I think I was just a little early betting on some Alex Noren outrights. I think if there's a time for him to do it, especially at a big event, I think it happens this week. And it's because if you look at the 4 majors throughout his career, he's old. He's like 42. The Open has always been his best major. T9 finish in 2012, T6 in 2017. It's tough when I'm referencing a finish he had at the Open 12 years ago in 2012. T6 in 2017, T11 2019. But even last year, when he wasn't playing nearly as good as he is this year, still had a solid T23 finish at the Open last year. So my point is, the Open has always been his best major of the 4 majors. He always plays well in links golf courses. He kind of regressed there a little bit, and I got off him, but then he kind of regained my faith in him this past week, finished T10 at the Scottish Open, right back at links golf. So he might still be in good enough form to compete this week. 13th on the PGA Tour in total strokes gained. So you got the stats for the year, you got the recent form, you got, not necessarily course history, but links history, major history at this major specifically. Is he going to win? Probably not. But if you're looking for 120 to 1 long shot, you're getting 120 to 1 odds on the guy who has statistically been the 13th best golfer on the PGA Tour this year. There has to be some kind of value in that play. So no matter how you want to play him, if it's top 20 at plus 250, if you want to sprinkle on him to win at 120 to 1, like I did, feel free. But I'm back on the Swede. I'm back on Alex Noren. He's been my guy all season. This is the week that he's got to show up.
Yeah, I mean, you look back at the last 2 Opens that we've had at Royal Troon, and it's not been favorites that won it. Like, even Phil and Stenson were obviously established names, but I'm pretty sure they were in like the 30, 40 to 1 range. Todd Hamilton was basically off the board. Like, that was a dude that no one ever thought would win a major championship, let alone a PGA Tour event. Like, it was, So, like, I think when you're looking at this tournament, I know my outright pick is someone near the top of the board, but I think the long shots are very much live this week.
Yeah, and I don't think not even just Royal Troon. I think kind of the Open Championship itself kind of lends itself to these long shots because they're weird. You got to play them a little bit, differently. The weather always plays a factor. I mean, Brian Harman last year obviously won 20 to 1. Tom Watson almost won the Open, is almost one of the greatest sporting stories of all time. Oh, was he 59 years old?
Yeah.
And he hit like is a perfect 7-iron that just happened to take a bad bounce off the back of the green on the final hole. And who was it that won? It was why am I blanking on his name?
Stuart Sink.
Stuart Sink, yeah. And Stuart Sink's obviously a very likable guy, but he was like the most hated guy in the golf world that week because he kind of stole it from Tom Watson. So my point is, if there's a major that anyone in the field can win, it's the Open Championship. So if you want to take a shot and a long shot, this tournament's kind of the time to do it. Let's move on to top 10. I mentioned earlier you are not betting on Ludwig this week, but you are getting in a bet on your other boy for some reason.
Of course. It's Victor Hovland at plus 275 for a top 10. First off, the reason I'm betting on him is the value. And I understand why the value's there. His form has not been Victor Hovland-esque. So, I understand that. But, when's the last time we saw Victor Hovland at plus 275 for a top 10? It's been a minute. And so, there is some value in this bet with the talent that he has. Last week, I'm not going to lie to you, finished T46 at the Scottish Open. Wasn't that great. Lost 2.8 strokes around the green, lost strokes on approach. Has he been trustworthy at all this year? Absolutely not. But we have seen him pop up. And when you dig into the metrics that I'm looking at when I'm modeling this event, it does kind of lend itself to where you could see Victor Hovland having one of these pop weeks. Last 20 rounds, he's actually 9th in strokes gained off the tee. He's 23rd in strokes gained approach. He's 4th on approaches from 175 to 200 yards and 12th from 150 to 175. And he's also actually been sneakily a top 45 putter. So he's been putting extremely well over the last 36 rounds. We saw him pop up at the PGA Championship when he really hadn't shown any signs of doing anything the entire year. I think he is a big game hunter. I think he elevates his play for these big events. And so I'm willing to take the value and take a little risk at top 10. I don't need him to win. I just need a top 10, but I'm willing to take the risk on a guy who we know is one of the best golfers in the world when he's right at a course that could seemingly suit him pretty decently.
I have to fight back against this one.
I know, and you're going to say strokes gained around the green. I know it's coming.
Strokes gained around the green. He's gained strokes around the green once in 2024. Yes, he did have a very good PGA Championship for sure, but that's his only top 10 finish in 2024. Victor Hovland concerns me a lot.
I get it, but I will. So on the strokes gained around the green point, I will point out that if my memory serves me correctly, when he contended at St. Andrews, when Cam Smith won, his strokes gained around the green numbers coming into that event were horrible. He just putted everything from off the green, and his putting has never been really the big concern. Yep. And that put him in contention at that event.
And he gained over a stroke per round around the greens.
Yeah.
So, okay. I won't fight back any further, but I've never been a Victor Hovland guy. I obviously like Victor Hovland, but from a betting standpoint, I've just never been a Victor Hovland guy. And probably it is because strokes gained around the green I probably overvalue it a little bit, but.
And I probably undervalue it. So in the middle is probably I probably shouldn't bet on him as much as I do. And you probably should bet on him a little more.
Agreed. Yep. I think that's a pretty fair evaluation. So I had something, by the way, because I need to kind of give this information for why I'm betting Alex Noren, a guy who I've bet on a ton already this season. And the next guy is a guy I've bet on a ton already this season. I had something happen to me this past week, which is the worst thing that you ever want to happen when betting on golf. And it came on the LPGA event. I've given some LPGA picks out on the show throughout the season, but obviously I've had my full betting preview written that, I know some people check out on a weekly basis. There is a golfer who I probably bet on her 8 times this season. And I said several times, I'm going to keep betting on her until she wins because she is too good to not win. That's Ayaka Fioroway. I think she is the most unrated golfer on the LPGA, and her stats, now she's second behind only Nelly Korda in total strokes gained all season. And for some reason, I didn't bet on her last week at the LPGA major. And guess who won the Evian Championship? Ayaka Fioroway. The first time all season I didn't bet on her. And she wins.
You did hit a live on her, right?
What's that?
You did hit a live bet on her, right?
Yes, but it's 1 plus 145. She was 25-1 or 22-1 pre-tournament. Yeah,
I'm just trying to make you feel a little bit better.
I did get a small win on her, yes, but still, that was a heartbreaker. So now, I'm afraid to now not bet on the golfers for this week who I've been betting on all season, because if the same thing happens in the men's tournament this week, I'm going to be a sad boy. All of that to say, I'm back on another guy. Now, I will say my top 5 pick and my pick to win are kind of different guys. But my top 10 pick, who I've also bet on to win at 70-1, the double glove bandit, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I gave this guy out to win last week. I thought I gave him out to finish top 5, so I actually thought it was a winner when it happened. I didn't. I went back to my notes. I gave him out as a pick to win for the show. He did finish top 5. He finished T4, so he had a good week, but I'm back on him again this week. The double glove bandit himself, I'm betting him top 10 plus 850. I've also bet on him, like I said, to win at 70-1. Top 3 golfers this season on the PGA Tour in total strokes gained: Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, Rory McIlroy. Number 4 on that list is the double glove bandit himself, Mr. Iron Covers, Aaron Rai. 4th in total strokes gained. Yet you can bet on him to finish in the top 10 at plus 850 or to win at 70-1. More total strokes gained than every other golfer on the PGA Tour, including the likes of Colin Morikawa, Ludwig, Aubert, and Hideki Matsuyama, or anyone else that you can potentially name on the PGA Tour. Fantastic form heading into this week. T2, T7, and then T4 at last week's Scottish Open. Even at the U.S. Open at Pinehurst, which is a nightmare-style course based on his style of play, he still finished T19. And now he gets to play at Royal Troon, which fits his strengths extremely well. Like I said, he played well on links golf last week at the Scottish Open. Now, I will say it was a little bit of a backdoor. He wasn't really in contention. He shot, I forget what it was on Sunday, but he shot, and I think it might have been the round of the day on Sunday to get back up to T4. And he does have a T19 finish at the Open back in 2021. So at least a little bit of history of success at the Open as well. So I'm back on Aaron Rai on the double glove bandit.
I mean, I'm in there because we hashed it out pre-show, but I had him as my top 10 pick as well. And, since he is your boy, I gave him to you. And, but I'm absolutely in on this. I know, just, to further your point, also first in scrambling over the last 20 rounds, which, kind of important. He hasn't been missing many greens, but when he does, he's been the best in the field this week at getting up and down and, not putting a big number on there. So I think like everything checks out for him to continue this run of success. Like I think he succeeded at courses that I don't even think he necessarily like fit his game ideally. I think this actually fits his game ideally.
And I will say I actually made a typo. I put down his top 5 odds for some reason. I noticed it as soon as I popped it up, but I wanted to double check before I said it. But yeah, he's not plus 850 top 10. So it's
like plus 450, I think.
Plus 450. Plus 450 top 10. You can bet him top 5 plus 850. But yeah, as soon as that popped up, I was like, that's a typo because there's no way he's plus 850 to finish top 10. Plus 450 to finish top 10, 70-1 to win. And I had one more thing I wanted to. Oh, yeah, that's right. Like you said, we've actually this season been pretty good not picking the same guys. When you sent over your picks, I both had Aaron Rai, or we both had Aaron Rai top 10, and our winner was the same. I said I'd switch my winner. You said you'd switch Aaron Rai since he's kind of been my guy. So we are kind of similar cards this week.
Which is how I ended up just reverting back to bad habits of Victor Hovland.
Yeah, true. Yes. And I was considering making my winner go back to bad habits and take Xander Schauffele. But the viewers will be happy to know I'm actually not betting on Xander Schauffele this week. By his standards, not great form his last 2 starts. Top 20 finishes, not good enough for me to bet Xander Schauffele. I've never really been a Xander Schauffele at the Open kind of guy. He's more of a Masters, PGA Championship, US Open guy.
I thought you were about to say I've never been a Xander Schauffele guy, and I was about to lose it.
I like your top 5 pick. I looked at him. I didn't play him myself, so I'm glad you're on him. Break down your top 5 pick.
Yeah, that's Hideki Matsuyama at plus 750, which I think those odds are frankly disrespectful for the type of player Hideki is. Last 20 rounds, only a slight gainer off the tee and outside the top 60 in this field on approach. So, you look at that and you think, oh, that's probably not great. But once again, you dig into the numbers and it's a little bit better than that. He's actually 11th in driving accuracy over the last 20 rounds, 5th in scrambling, 7th on approach from 150 to 175 yards, 1st in strokes gained around the green, which is a territory he's occupied basically all year, and then 21st in bogey avoidance. That's one of the things that sometimes worries me about Hideki is when his putter gets a little squirrely, he can put big numbers on the cards. Well, he's doing a really good job this season, particularly of late, of avoiding that. He missed the cut here in 2016, but I think Hideki's just become a more professional, more well-rounded player since 2016. He has an up and down open history, but if you look at a lot of players, they have an up and down open history because the elements play such a big factor in all of this. The wind, the dry or firm and fast, or whether it's lush. Like there's so many elements at play that you see a lot of up and down history. And I just think that Hideki, with his short game, with the way he's approaching the green from the key ranges, and with the way he's driving the ball into the fairway, I think he's a really live play to win, but definitely a top 5. I think the value on top 5 is crazy.
Yeah, you don't really think of Hideki Matsuyama as a links golfer, but he's actually had some pretty solid finishes at the Open. I don't think he's ever necessarily been in contention to win, but I mean, you got a T6 in 2013, T18, 2015, T14, 2017, T23 T13 in 2023 last year. He's had some solid finishes at links golf courses, at least better than you would think when you think of Hideki Matsuyama. So I like that play.
Thank you.
What'd you say?
I just said thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. My pick for a top 5. I don't know if either of us have bet on this guy lately, but he is sneakily actually in extremely good form. And I actually think there's a ton of value on this guy. I would never bet on this guy in a million years to win a major. But I think this is exactly where we want to play this guy. Do you have a guess who I'm going to say?
Jordan Spieth.
No, I mean, no, he's won major. So, I mean, I wouldn't bet on him to win a major now. But
he's 66-1 this week, which is wild.
Big Tone.
Oh, yeah. I love it.
Big Tone, top 5, man. He has quietly been playing some unbelievable T18 of the these are his last 5 starts. T18 at the PGA Championship, T17 at the Charles Schwab, T8 at Memorial, T3 at US Open, and then T5 at Travelers. Now, he hasn't played since the Travelers last month. He didn't play at the Scottish Open. I would have liked to see him at the Scottish Open. But not only that, he's also had some great finishes at the Open. T18 in 2016, T9 2018, solo third in 2019, the year Shane Lowry won in some tough conditions, T15 in 2021. Big Tone actually kind of brings it at the Open more years than not. And he was like kind of like people like forgot about him at the start of the year, and he was like not really playing great. And then his last 5 events, he's just randomly turned it on, gaining strokes in every single area. His driving accuracy is a little wayward at times, but like his approach game has been fantastic. His short game has been on fire. His putting has been as good as it's been in a long time. Let's go Big Tone for a top 5 finish here.
We are absolutely on the same page this week, because before I, reverted to my bad habits and put Victor in, I was going to put Big Tone as my top 10 pick. So we are absolutely in, like, everything you just said is absolutely right. Like, I think Big Tone is going just far too overlooked this week, and far too overlooked, frankly, over the past couple of months. Like, he's been playing fantastic golf. He just hasn't, like, it's unfortunate for him that Rory and Bryson kind of sucked all the oxygen out of the US Open, because until I was looking back, I forgot he finished T3 at the US Open. Like, I completely forgot that happened.
It was a backdoor T3. I think he shot extremely low on Sunday. Like, it would have had to be a collapse from Rory and Bryson for him to kind of get into a playoff there. But yeah, I think he shot the low round on Sunday, I think.
But I mean, it was Pinehurst. It's not like super low rounds. I think it was like a 67. Like, it wasn't going crazy low or anything like that. Yeah. So like it was impressive. I remember that. But I mean, he was still like near the top of the leaderboard. He was like top 15 going into Sunday. Yep. So like he's been playing extremely well consistently. And like the big issue earlier in the year was the putter. He was just losing strokes consistently. Like I don't know, Justin Thomas or someone like putting. Like, that was the kind of game we were seeing from him. The ball striking was there. He just couldn't convert anything with the short game. And he's fixed that. And when he fixes that, he's one of the best players in the world, hands down. Yeah.
I'll say the other player I was considering going top 5. I was deciding between Tony Finau and this guy is Shane Lowry, who is also, I think, sneakily a pretty decent look this week. T19 at the US Open, T6 at the PGA Championship, T9 at the Travelers at his last start. Obviously has won an Open Championship in the past. Has some other solid finishes at the Open Championship, but Tony, at least recently, has a little bit more consistent form. I mean, Shane Lowry had a 49th at Memorial, T33 Canadian Open. So I ended up going Big Tone, but Shane Lowry, another name that we haven't mentioned yet, who I picked him in a couple pools, and he might be my DFS lineup too. So I do want to give him a shout. All right, let's move on to our pick to win. Like I said earlier, we both had the same guy pick to win. So yeah, go ahead. The guy you're about to pick, I'm on as well, but then I'm going to go different for my pick for the show.
Yeah, for sure. It's Colin Morikawa, 16-1. I feel like he's a
Yep.
very popular guy this week, but man, there's a reason he's popular. Obviously former Open Championship winner, and his major performance this year been sneaky great, man. T3 at the Masters, T4 at the PGA Championship, and T14 at the US Open. He's been relatively in the mix in each of these. He was T4 last week at the Scottish Open. Over the last 20 rounds, 8th in bogey avoidance, 6th in driving accuracy, 3rd on approach from 150 to 175 yards, 5th from 175 to 200 yards. So he is dialed with his approach from the key ranges. And this is a big thing with Colin Morikawa. He is 10th in strokes gained putting over the last 36 rounds. Hit that once again, yeah, another guy who we don't think of as a good putter at all. And he's in the top 10 in strokes gained putting over the last 36 rounds. When you have everything working like it is for Colin Morikawa, he's been trending so hard for this. The last time he finished outside the top 20 in a single, so basically excluding the Zurich, was the Valero Texas Open the first week of April. It's been an eternity since he's finished outside the top 20. And the fact that he hasn't won there is actually the shocking in that stretch is the shocking part of it. So I think going back to, he's won an Open Championship before. It's not going to be too big for him. I think he's going to come up and I think he's going to win it this week.
I agree for all those exact same points. Another one I'll add, I mean, he's already won an Open Championship, obviously. His lack of distance off the tee is not going to hurt him at Royal Troon like it might at some other majors. And I mean, when you bet on an outright, especially at a major, what you're really hoping for, at least what I hope for, is that heading into the weekend, preferably Sunday, but at least heading into the weekend, you have hope. Because that's what betting on big outrights is all about. You want hope. And I think Colin Morikawa, of the big names outside of Scotty Scheffler, he's the guy who I think has the highest floor this week. Well, I think at least heading into the weekend is going to be in the mix and has been at the other 3 majors this year. And I think this is the major that kind of fits his style of play better than the others. So 16-1, I'm on him as well. He, if anyone's already read my betting preview on SI, you saw that was my top pick. But because we both had him and I let you have him, you let me have Aaron Rye, I had to dive in a little bit deeper and get another outright pick. And I like this. I'm going with a live guy. And handicapping live guys is obviously a little bit more difficult. We kind of don't have the stats for it. But I'm going to go with
guess.
You got too late. Yeah. Is that who you're going to guess?
No, I was going to guess Brooks.
Oh, interesting. Now, Brooks, I mean, 40-1, you look at the odds.
Exactly.
But I mean, he's just not playing good golf, but then also at the same time, it's like, yeah, but Brooks kind of never really plays good golf until major. So Brooks is just a guy I just personally never bet on because I don't know. I don't have enough reason to bet on Brooks. But I'm going to go Tyrrell Hatton. Okay. He won Live Nashville late June. He finished solo 3rd at Live Andalusia, is that how you pronounce that?
The one in Spain, at Valderrama was the course. I don't know how to say what town they were in, but I know that it was at Valderrama.
So last 2 live events he won and he finished solo 3rd, so great form. And obviously he's an English golfer. He knows how to play links golf courses. T5 at the Open in 2016, T6 in 2019, T11 in 2022, T20 last year. And I just think this is a guy who's rounding in a form at the right time. So if we want to bet on a live golfer, I would even go Tyrrell Hatton over Bryson. I see a lot of people betting Bryson this week. I just don't know if his style of play fits links golf, and it hasn't. Bryson has never. Well, I think he had one decent finish at an Open, but I kind of need to see him really be in contention at an Open before I'd consider Bryson. I think Tyrrell Hatton might be the live guy to bet on this week, so I'm going to take him 28-1.
Yeah, I think the one reason people would push back on Tyrrell Hatton is that he has one top 5 in a major in his career. So he's never really been in contention. But when you look back historically, the Open Championship has been where he's had the most major success. He has a T5, a T6, a T11, and a T20. And those are all within the last 6-7 years. So this has been the major that he's played the best. He is an Englishman after all. So maybe that's, part of it. Maybe he feels comfortable on these types of courses. Probably what the style he grew up playing. So I don't hate it at all. And like you said, he's been in great form. I think I bet on Tyrrell Hatton at the US Open. Did not work out well for me, but I can't hate it because the form's been there.
Yeah, he did finish T9 at the Masters this year, which he's vocally doesn't like playing Augusta. He hates the course, which is a wild take to have, but he still finished T9. T63 at the PGA Championship, not great. Didn't contend at the US Open, but T26, so it wasn't terrible. And it was putting that let him down. He was actually good in every other area, just a terrible week putting. So now, based off his last 2 live finishes, a win and a solo third at 28-1, I think there's a little bit of value there on Tyrrell.
And let's be honest, like if he is in contention, is there going to be a more fun bet to sweat than Tyrrell Hatton potentially winning a major championship? It would be electric.
Yeah, it's going to be the best. All right. Actually, before we get to close to the win, one golfer that we obviously haven't mentioned this show is Scotty Scheffler, who I think is all the way down at plus 550, at least at BetMGM. I mean, other majors this year, he was like 3-1. Do we take a shot at Scotty Scheffler? Is he not built for links golf? Is he going to win a second major? Thoughts on Scotty Scheffler?
I'm staying away from Scotty this week. He Open Championship has been by far his worst major, and we saw him kind of. The U.S. Open was disappointing. The U.S. Open kind of opened my eyes a little bit in a way that I'm just like, okay, maybe he's like out of the automatic like going to contend zone. Like I'm not saying he could very well win this week, and it's Scotty Scheffler. He's the best player in the world. But at the same time, I think we're past that stage that we had for 2 or 3 months where it was if he's in the field, he's going to win. I don't think we're in that place anymore. I think the odds reflect that, and I'm going to follow the odds in that and just say that the value's not there on him because I don't think he's as sure a thing as he was.
Yeah, I think kind of the way to bet him is kind of see how the first couple of rounds go, see if he can get him at around maybe the same odds heading into the weekend. If you feel confident in how he's played the first couple of rounds, it is kind of the way to go. I actually placed a Scheffler bet on, and this is a stupid bet. I don't recommend anyone to tail it, but I bet him to have a bogey-free first round at 12-1.
Okay. The odds are enticing. And Scheffler's normally very good at avoiding the big numbers or avoiding, mistakes.
He leads the tour. This is not going to be a surprise to anyone, but he leads the tour in bogey avoidance, fewest bogeys per round. Hopefully whenever he plays, the wind's not up too much. It's just going to be an extra fun bet to watch for the opening round. Do you have a first round leader, by the way?
Actually, Aaron Rai. I really like Aaron Rai as a first-round leader because he always starts hot, and that's how he gets in the mix whenever he's playing well. So I really like Aaron Rai. I'm not sure what the odds are.
Round scoring average by far his best round has been the opening round. I looked at Aaron Rai, but because I already had his outright, bet, I didn't take Aaron Rai. I took Corey Connor 60-1.
Nice, I like
Canadian action there. His round is also of the 4 rounds. His round this season has always been the first round. His ball striking obviously fantastic. So I'll go with Corey Connors as my first round leader.
I like that.
All right, closest to the win. You did win last week. Doesn't matter because the season-long competition has already been locked up by me. But you had Seamus Power, correct?
Yes.
Who did at least make the cut, which was good enough because I'd used Luton, who did not make the cut. So you did win last week for what it's worth. Who are you on this week?
We're on Russell Henley, 125-1. Frankly, this is just because Russell Henley's 125-1, and I think he's been playing really damn good golf all year. So that was like seeing him north of 100-1. I had to jump on it. But if you want some numbers, last 20 rounds, he's 4th in driving accuracy, 24th on approach, and 3rd in approach putt performance. So lag putting, avoiding, knee knocking par putts. He's been great at that capacity. Also 6th in good drive percentage. Up and down history at the Open. But again, like I said, I think that roller coaster is kind of what everyone rides when it comes to the Open Championship. Like his fit. I like what he could do here. So getting Russell Henley at 125-1, I'm not going to pass that up.
All right. I like it. I'm going to give a young buck. I'm going to give a 21-year-old from Northern Ireland as my close to the win. I'm going to go Tom McKibben.
Oh, yeah.
200-1. Fantastic season on the DP World Tour, a.k.a. the European Tour. His last start, he missed the cut of the Scottish Open. His approach play was uncharacteristically bad. I'm going to assume he's not going to lose over 2 strokes approach per round again this week. I'm just going to chalk that up as, I don't know, he was drunk or hungover or something. Before that, solo 2nd at the Italian Open, solo 6th at the KLM Open, T8 at the European Open, T23 Volvo China Open, T7 at ISPS Handa Championship. T9, T12, solo, like every single week that he tees it up on the DP World Tour, he's top 20, if not top 10. US Open T41, not great, could be good enough to win, close to the win though, if he can kind of carry that over this week. So I'm gonna go with for anyone who's looking for maybe a cheap DFS option, a top 30, top 40, make the cut kind of bet. I actually did bet on him to make the cut as well. I believe I got to go check my bets, but I think I bet on this guy to make the cut as well. I just love betting on. I love trying to pick out a young up and comer that I think is going to have and there always is one. It seems like every single major there's like a fun young guy who like is kind of in contention heading into the weekend. The guy who I'm going to bank on that being this time around is Tom McKibben.
No, and not even just young guys. Like young guys, yes, have been in the mix, but they also like at the Open Championship, like we talked about with the long shots. Like you always see like the good story or whatever, like someone who just came out of nowhere and competed. I remember, I believe it was the one Morikawa won. Marcel Siem, a dude who's just grinded his tail off for a guy who's just grinded his tail off on the DP World Tour for like 15 years, and then he got in contention at that Open Championship. So we see a lot of guys just really pop up. So I can't hate on this at all.
Last year he wasn't really in contention to win because Harman was kind of running away with it, but the other Fitzpatrick was kind of in the mix last year, if you remember that. Alex Fitzpatrick, he beat Matt Fitzpatrick. I'm just looking at it now, finished T17. I think he had kind of a disappointing final round, but still a T17. So I know he was a story last year. So yeah, the Open kind of generates these kinds of storylines. So the guy who I think might be like that out of nowhere, story this week might be Tom McKibben.
I love it.
He has the name of a guy who's going to be like a story. Tom McKibben.
Oh yeah. Just sounds like a dude that you're going to hear that on the broadcast like 8 times.
Yeah. All right. You got to pick for the Barracuda. I did not look at the Barracuda whatsoever. I haven't even looked at the odds, haven't looked at the field. So thankfully you have taken a quick look at it. So if anyone wants to bet on the alternate field event, the PGA Tour event this week, there is the is this the Stableford format?
It is indeed.
Is this auction won this last year?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also part of the reason why I'm picking the guy I am, which is Kevin Yu at 35-1. Stableford scoring, the big thing you want is someone who's just going to fill it up with birdies and eagles, man, because they reward that more heavily than they penalize for a bogey. And Kevin Yu is that guy in this field. First on strokes gained approach over the last 20 rounds, 4th tee to green. He's actually, the big key with Kevin Yu is always, can he putt? And his putting has been abysmal a lot of weeks, but he's actually gained putting in 2 of his last 3 rounds and 3 of his last 6. So maybe he's fixed a little something with that short game. And if he has, this field might get blitzed because it is a better field than we saw at the ISCO Championship last week, which is not hard to achieve, but it's still not a like very deep field. It's still not a field with a lot of guys who can fill it up the way Kevin Yu is capable of. So I think getting him at 35-1, there's some value there.
I like it. I like Kevin Yu. I like that play. I just looked at the odds for the first time. Kashmir Keith, the favorite, is 16-1.
Yeah, I'm done trusting Kashmir Keith after losing a lot of bets on him earlier in the year.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, there you go. That's our show. The Open Championship, Royal Troon. Can't wait. I guess. How do you handle watching the Open, Cody? Because, I mean, it's going to be super early for me, but you're even further time zone. Like, do you wake up early or you just wake up and then just get caught up in what happened?
So the big key is you're going to want to take a midday nap. And that's the biggest key that's the biggest key I can tell you. So for me, I actually find this a little bit easier. I'll take a nice like 1 to 2 hour nap during the middle of the day. And coverage tends to start, especially for the first 2 rounds, at 11 p.m. Mountain Time. That tends to be when it starts. So I'll stay up and watch the first like few tee shots, stay up till about 1 o'clock, then take a 3 to 4 hour nap there until like 4 or 5 o'clock. I'll get to see a lot of those guys finish, and I'll get to see the other guys get to start out, and then I'll go with my day about that. And so
it actually does kind of work in your favor a little bit, because then I guess it'd be 11 p.m. So that would be 1 a.m. is when it starts my time, and that's kind of into the zone where it's like I can't really stay up.
Right, exactly.
So I'm going to try to go to bed early and wake up at 5 a.m. is going to be what I'm going to try to do Thursday. Is that going to happen? We'll see.
I mean, you're an early morning guy now, so, you know.
I actually have been. I've been waking up extremely early the past 10 days. So we'll see if I can. But, I mean, early to me is like 6:30. So can I push that even earlier, another hour and a half? I'll try.
I mean, I do think that, like, if you're on the East Coast, that is a good strategy, because the thing, like, you know, people, I'm a sicko and I like to watch everyone tee off, you know, everyone get on the course. But like, if you really want to watch the people who matter, like play the heart of their rounds, 5 a.m. is that kind of sweet spot, because the favorites in the morning wave are not going to tee off until about 2 or 3 Eastern time. So you're going to get to catch all of them, play the majority of their rounds. So that's definitely the smart move on your part.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I'm melting with no fan. I'm literally I'm drenched in sweat right now. We need to get this AC fixed in my building because this is not good. Any final thoughts, Cody, before we wrap this up?
Man, I hope you get cool soon. I hope you don't, sweat out everything in your body. But I'm excited for this week. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Like I said, Royal Troon is just it's just such a unique test in what it asks from the golf game. You get the Open Championship conditions, you get the links conditions, and then you get a course that basically there's not one, like every hole demands different types of shots, which I think is a really cool test of golf.
Yep. It's going to be a fun one. Can't wait. Always love the Open Championship. Let's are you going to sprinkle Alex Noren with me to try to get a little 120 to 1 for a second year straight?
I might have to. After seeing the Scottish Open last week, I wondered if you were going to bet on him, and since you are, I'll join you on that.
Right. Sprinkle a little bit, just a couple bucks.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you all so much for watching. Best luck with all your bets this week. Gamble or bless, and we'll talk to you, I guess, is it the Olympics next week?
No, there's one event before that. I'm not entirely sure what it is off the top of my head.
Sure it's not the Olympics next week?
Olympics is the week after.
Okay. Next week is the 3M Open.
Oh, baby. Go to Minnesota. Let's go.
Yeah, I should have known that. Yeah, 3M Open in Minnesota next week. So we'll talk to you all next week for the 3M Open. Bye.